For 3 whole days, Zhuo Yifan remained locked in his room, sitting in a still position, his legs crossed as if carved from stone. This had been his state ever since Zi Tianshang emerged from the courtyard, confirming that the antidote had worked and that Chu Qingcheng had fully recovered. Today marked the start of the middle 3 sects stage of the competition. Yet Zhuo Yifan showed no interest in observing his rivals. Instead, he delegated the task to Fiend Yang, who had taken the disciples to spectate. Despite his calm exterior, Zhuo Yifan's mind churned with turmoil. Danking Shen's words lingered, casting an unsettling shadow over his thoughts. How does one sever ties with something they had never truly grasped? This paradox gnawed at him, a question he had never dared to confront before. Perhaps it was the path of demonic cultivation itself that had brought him here, forcing him into solitude, shaping him into someone accustomed to having complete control. But now fate seemed to play a cruel joke, constantly dragging him back, binding him with invisible chains. The question loomed large in his mind. Was this heaven's punishment? A mockery of his ambitions? Or perhaps some twisted trial meant to test his resolve? He thought back to Yun Xuanji's cryptic words. Was this indeed his chance to restart his demonic path? Yet the path ahead felt alien, vastly different from the one he had walked in his past life. Back then, the road to supremacy had seemed straightforward. Now every step felt uncertain, shrouded in doubt. He clenched his fists as frustration welled up. What was he to do? Demonic cultivation demanded an emotionless heart, a cold detachment from the world. Yet these emotions, these feelings he could neither name nor understand, clung to him like chains. He shook his head in exasperation. How could one remove emotions they had never fully experienced? What if these emotions were a part of his trial? Could embracing them lead him further down the path of the Tao, or would they be his undoing? The contradictions were maddening. True demonic cultivation allowed no room for hesitation or attachment. But if emotions could simply be cast aside, would they ever truly be genuine in the first place? A wry smile tugged at the corners of his lips. If there was no clear answer, then perhaps this entire ordeal was nothing more than a farce, a test designed to keep him in limbo. Perhaps I should just go with the flow, he thought bitterly. Let my heart guide me. But where would that leave him? The more he contemplated, the further he seemed to stray from the path he had once known. This inner turmoil consumed him, leaving him powerless and restless. He had spent 3 days wrestling with his thoughts, trying to reconcile his past with his present, and in those moments, a single realization struck him like a thunderclap. My previous path was too plain, too shallow. That's why it's no longer enough. Before he could delve deeper, Fiend Yang's booming voice shattered his contemplation. Zhuo Yifan, another dark horse has appeared. If things keep going like this, we might not even make it past the middle 3 sects stage. Zhuo Yifan groaned, rolling his eyes at the intrusion. He shifted slightly but made no effort to get up. The door slammed open and Fiend Yang stormed in, his frustration evident as he grabbed Zhuo, Yifan by the shoulders and shook him violently. Damn, brat, do you have nothing better to do than sit around? You can sleep all you want after you're dead. Right now we have real problems to deal with. What's the rush? Zhuo Yifan muttered, clearly unimpressed. The middle 3 sects fight isn't until tomorrow. Just let it be. Let it be? Let it be? Fiend Yang's face turned crimson with anger. He fought to keep his composure, though his voice trembled with barely contained fury. Do you even know what happened today? You didn't show up to watch the matches, did you? Not interested, Zhuo Yifan replied lazily, closing his eyes as if to block out Fiend Yang's ranting. Fiend Yang's face twitched. His patience, already thin, was about to snap. You wouldn't be so calm if you'd seen it yourself. Fiend Yang growled. The Sword God sect, their lineup is insane. All 10 of their disciples are already in the ethereal stage, even your so-called old friend. At this, Zhuo Yifan finally stirred, opening one eye to glance at him. Oh, that guy. I did sense his aura when he arrived, but I didn't think much of it. Ethereal stage, huh? He's always been talented, so I guess it makes sense. Good for him. Fiend Yang's jaw dropped in disbelief. Good for him? That's all you have to say? That guy is our biggest threat. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down, though his tone remained sharp. Sword God sect isn't just strong. They've dominated every single match so far. The Demon Soul Sect and Heaven Trailing Sect haven't even come close to beating them. And as if that wasn't enough, that friend of yours hasn't even shown his full strength yet. Zhuo Yifan raised an eyebrow. Sounds like they're well prepared. Well prepared? Fiend Yang snapped. They're more than prepared. They're practically invincible. And you're sitting here doing nothing. Zhuo Yifan let out a yawn, stretching lazily. Relax. I have a foolproof plan to make sure we don't lose. Fiend Yang's eyes lit up with a flicker of hope. Really? What's the plan? Zhuo Yifan smirked. Simple. We don't fight them. If we don't fight, we can't lose. For a moment, Fiend Yang was speechless. Then his face contorted with rage. You lazy good-for-nothing brat. You're the one who said we'd challenge the superior 3 sects. And now you're backing out? Zhuo Yifan ignored his outburst and walked away. His thoughts were elsewhere, preoccupied with his inner struggle. Fiend Yang, on the verge of an aneurysm, threw up his hands in frustration. You're impossible! Before he could continue, Kui Lang entered the room, bowing respectfully. Steward Zhuo, Venerable, someone from the Heaven Trailing Sect is here to see you. Fiend Yang scowled. Why now? What do they want? He shot a glare at Zhuo Yifan. This isn't over. We'll talk later. As Fiend Yang stormed off, Kui Lang hesitated before addressing Zhuo Yifan. Steward Zhuo, is there anything you need from me? Zhuo Yifan motioned for him to stay. Kui Lang, I have a question. You and your wife, your love runs deep, doesn't it? Kui Lang's expression softened. Yes, she's my piece. My anchor. Then why? Zhuo Yifan cut him off. Why would you risk everything knowing the dangers? Kui Lang smiled faintly. Because some things are worth the risk. Even if it costs me everything, I have no regrets. Zhuo Yifan fell silent, his mind churning once more. Kui Lang bowed and left, but not before leaving Zhuo Yifan with one final thought. Steward Zhuo, sometimes the only thing holding us back is ourselves. Why chain yourself to rules that don't serve you anymore? Zhuo Yifan watched him go, his heart heavy with questions he couldn't answer. Freedom of action formed the foundation of the demonic path. But even those who walked it often felt bound by its contradictions. Zhuo Yifan stood still, grappling with the old, unanswered question that had long plagued his thoughts. Such a contradiction, he mused. But just as he was starting to lose himself in his thoughts, an obnoxiously loud voice shattered the silence. Damn that Ren Kong! How dare he look down on me, acting like I'm beneath him? This is absolute bullshit! The sound of a slamming door followed, and Fiend Yang stormed into the room with an expression like thunderclouds. He pointed at Zhuo Yifan with barely contained irritation. You! The Heaven Trailing Sect is asking for you. Go see them! Zhuo Yifan raised an eyebrow, his voice calm but curious. Me? Why me? Aren't you a mighty venerable? Surely they'd prefer to deal with someone like you. Fiend Yang huffed. Of course I'm enough. But those arrogant bastards want you specifically. Something about showing respect. Just go. They're the head of Tianyu's 3 guardian sects, and we can't afford to be careless. Zhuo Yifan rolled his eyes but followed Fiend Yang out to the courtyard. There, 4 strangers were already waiting. They looked out of place against the modest surroundings, and their attitude reeked of disdain. The leader, a young master in silken robes, fanned himself leisurely while sneering. Your place sure is tiny, he drawled, his voice dripping with mockery. But I suppose that's to be expected from a lower 3 sect. Ha ha ha! The 2 green-clad youths beside him echoed his laughter. Their eyes filled with scorn. The 4th figure, an old man with a grizzled beard, said nothing but observed everything with sharp eyes. Nearby, Guihu and the other disciples of the demon-scheming sect stood stiffly, their faces a mixture of anger and frustration. But the 2 fiends present kept them from speaking out. Zhuo Yifan observed this display with growing irritation. He turned to Fiend Yang and asked dryly, Is the Heaven Trailing Sect here to cause trouble? Or is this just their natural tone? Fiend Yang sighed. I'm not sure, but I don't think there's been any conflict between us. Just talk to them. You'll figure it out. As the pair approached, Guihu and his group immediately bowed in deference to Zhuo Yifan before stepping aside. The 4 visitors turned their attention to him at once. The young master snapped his fan shut and smirked. So, you're the so-called dark horse of the lower 3 sects? I saw you during your sect's fight with the mystical Heaven sect, but you didn't even bother participating. You must think you're pretty special, huh? Acting all cocky without lifting a finger. Zhuo Yifan raised an eyebrow, his expression flat. You call me cocky, yet you're the one strutting around like a peacock. Are you itching for a beating or just stupid? Aloud, he replied, "That makes two of us. Now why are you all here? And why me specifically?" The young master chuckled, his contempt clear. "Ha! We've heard about your so-called talents, about how your sect treasures you. But I think the venerables must have exaggerated. We came to see for ourselves what you're really worth." Zhuo Fan's gaze darkened as understanding dawned. They weren't here for a friendly visit. They were here to provoke him into a fight. The young master mistook Zhuo Fan's silence for fear and grew bolder. "Now don't be so nervous," he sneered. "We came with good intentions. Surely you've seen the middle three sects stage by now. I thought I'd remind you to know your place before you embarrass yourself." The demon-scheming sect's disciples bristled at his words, their anger barely contained. But Zhuo Fan's expression remained carefully neutral, his voice light. "And what were the results of today's stage?" "I must have missed them." The young master's face twisted with annoyance, his pride clearly wounded. "Are you mocking us? You already know." "Humph, fine. We didn't do so well this time, finishing last in the middle three sects stage. But even so, we're leagues ahead of any lower three sect like yours." Zhuo Fan let out a low chuckle. "Oh, so you're the runt of the litter. That explains it. Worried we might surpass you, so you came running here to beg for mercy, is that it?" His voice turned mocking. "You'll have to try harder than this if you want to catch my attention. Maybe wag your tail a bit more." "Bastard!" Two voices roared in unison, one from the young master and the other from the grizzled elder. A wave of pressure suddenly surged toward Zhuo Fan as the elder lashed out with a palm strike aimed straight at his head. But Zhuo Fan didn't move. He simply stood his ground, a cold glint in his eyes. "You think you can intimidate me?" Before the strike could land, Fiend Yang intercepted it, blocking the attack with his own palm. Both men staggered back a few steps before coming to a stop. The elder's glare was sharp enough to cut steel. Fiend Yang, however, laughed nervously. "Ha ha ha, Elder Qi, there seems to be a misunderstanding. Zhuo Fan hasn't participated in today's fights, so he's unaware of your sect's situation. Please forgive any offense." The elder grunted. "Unaware? Then what did he mean by his last words? What, dog?" Fiend Yang opened his mouth, but found himself at a loss for words. Zhuo Fan, however, was unfazed. "I'm still waiting for an answer." "Why are you here?" The young master sneered. "We came to warn you. Stay out of the challenge stage. Just sit back and watch unless you want to humiliate yourselves." Zhuo Fan smirked. "Funny, if you're so confident, why waste your time here? Your words only prove how scared you really are. And frankly, you're terrible at hiding it." "You arrogant!" The young master's anger boiled over, and he shot a quick signal to his green-clad companions. The two youths moved in unison, targeting Qi Changlong, Bai Lian, and Lu Shi, the strongest of the demon-scheming sect's disciples. Their attacks were swift and precise, catching the trio off guard. 3 loud crashes rang out as Qi Changlong and the others were sent flying, blood spilling from their mouths. Before anyone could react, the 2 attackers returned to their original spots, as if nothing had happened. Zhuo Fan's eyes narrowed as he assessed the situation. "A combined attack, huh?" The young master sneered triumphantly. "Let this serve as a warning. If you dare face us on stage, don't expect mercy. We'll crush you." With that, the group turned and left, their smugness palpable. Meanwhile, Qi Changlong and the others struggled to their feet, their faces twisted with pain and anger. Zhuo Fan's voice was calm but sharp. "Are you going to let them get away with this?" "Like hell we will," Gi Hu snarled. "We'll show them who's boss. They'll regret underestimating us." Fiend Yang chimed in, his tone serious. "Zhuo Fan, be careful with how you handle this. That brat is Ren Kong, the son of sect leader Ren. You can teach him a lesson, but killing him is off limits. As for the others, do as you see fit. But be cautious. Those 2 green-clad fighters, Kong Shan and Kong Lin, are tricky. Their movements are unpredictable, and they're skilled in the mountain and forest's shadow technique." Zhuo Fan smirked. "Thank you for the warning. Tomorrow we'll show them what the demon-scheming sect is truly capable of." The courtyard erupted into cheers, the disciples fired up and ready for battle. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan's mind raced with plans. "Ren Kong, enjoy your fleeting victory while it lasts. Tomorrow, you'll learn the true meaning of fear."